Rita.
Welcome everyone. We are back for our Friday Q&A. Um, Sorry, hang on. Having a technical issue. Okay, it's going live on Facebook. So welcome everybody who has tuned in. We're going to be talking about all of the things that have been happening in the last week around COVID and how it's impacting businesses and some recent interesting cases that we thought we should share with you. So welcome everyone, and thanks for Jessie to Jessie for being here as our resident COVID ER expert.
It's just interesting, isn't it? I just like to stay across it, but yeah, it's interesting and always each week presents a new set of challenges. I think what we've seen in Victoria in the last week is a huge rise in cases, which is kind of a little bit disappointing and daunting. I think with the introduction of mandatory face masks, we're all hoping those numbers would have gone down. And they haven't, but they are saying that a lot of the increase is due to the outbreaks in the aged care facilities, which is just heartbreaking.
It is, and it's really interesting because it feels like we're doing all of this work. We're all isolating, we're all locking down. We're now wearing face masks, and the numbers just keep going up and up. So I feel that the community at large is getting really like disheartened and feeling quite like everyone I speak to is quite down in the dumps.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely think lockdown 2.0 has different feeling to the first one. The first one, everyone was a lot more positive about it, and I think this one feels, everyone I've spoken to feels a lot harder. And I think that definitely presents a whole set of challenges for employers to be managing the mental health and well-being of their employees. As we're working from home, some of the effects that I've heard anecdotally from a lot of our clients is that performance, like we're working on a lot of performance related issues. And then the question needs to be raised, is the performance due to, people feeling a little bit less motivated? They're not baking sourdough anymore. I know I'm not baking anymore. I've outsourced it and I'm ordering baked goods to come in.
Yeah.
Um, and it is getting harder to maintain the motivation. And I think when you've got people working at home, you are still responsible for their health and well-being while they're at home. So you would be responsible for their psychological well-being as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, trying to manage that remote working arrangements and flexible working arrangements. And you've just led in beautifully to the first thing that we're going to talk about today. And that is that, like, your remote working strategy shouldn't be confused with requests for flexible work. Like, they're really two different things. So, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think look, a flexible work request is really kind of reserved for people that have got children that are school age or people with disabilities, and they have a right under the Fair Work Act to request flexible work arrangements. And there's a very specific way to do that. It has to be done in writing, and you have 21 days to respond. The remote working strategy, that is a little bit different because that's temporary, whereas a flexible work arrangement. So let's say you have someone with school kids and they need to drop off their children at 8:30 in the morning at school. So they want to start at 9:30 or start at 9 o'clock when they're supposed to start at 8:30 on 3 days a week or something like that. You have to have good, reasonable business grounds to reject that flexible work request. So it's really important that you consider each of those cases. Hopefully, this remote working situation that we're under because of COVID lockdowns is temporary. So it's not
Yeah.
permanent. fixture. So I think that that's the difference.
Yeah. And I think that one of the challenges is going to be managing employee expectations, because I think that a lot of employees have really liked this working from home thing and it really works for them. But how you manage the transition back into the office is going to be quite difficult, because some people are probably going to resist and probably going to say things like, well, I've been working at home quite efficiently for the last 4 months. How long have we been doing this for now? Jesus, March, April, May, June, 5 months. Holy shit. 5 months. And so now when we all start going back into the office again, some employees are probably going to be a little bit pissed off.
Yeah, look, I think one of the things with that is, reasonable and lawful requests. So, part of that employment contract is that employees will follow reasonable and lawful requests. So, look, it might be more convenient to work from home, and for some businesses, it may be able to become a permanent fixture. Like, why spend so much money on a fancy office in the city where it costs heaps of money in rent? It might be more feasible to have people working from home. But I think what's missing is like that sense of collaboration,
Yeah.
um, and also being able to manage performance. I think a lot of businesses are struggling a little bit because you don't have that visibility of your employees. So if you've got reasonable and lawful reasons for people to return to the office, and I think, at the moment, Victoria is sort of excluded from that. But once we start to go back, if it's a reasonable and lawful request and you can actually articulate why you need people in the office, I don't think employees can refuse that.
That brings me to my next question. There was a recent case that's been in the media a little bit over the past week about a cleaning company that had some employees that were refusing to come into work because they were worried because there was a COVID outbreak, and the employer actually took the employees to Fair Work Australia, and
Yeah.
then we were talking about what happened. But can you talk
Yeah.
through that scenario, because that's a bit of an
Yeah.
interesting one?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. So there was an outbreak in this workplace, or there was two employees that tested positive, and the cleaning that they do was for the hospitals. So they were they were a laundry facility, and they had to clean the sheets from the hospitals. Um, and after there was two cases in the workplace, the next day, 35 employees refused to come to work. So the
Wow.
employer lodged a case with the Fair Work Commission to try and get these employees to come back to work. But they dropped the case because they got a visit from the DHHS, and then mysteriously the case was dropped. So, some of the questions that I think that poses is, how COVID safe is your workplace?
Yeah.
And employers have an obligation to provide a safe workplace, right, and do everything reasonably practicable to provide a safe workplace. And if you haven't done that, you're in breach of your obligations as an employer. So the question is, were those employees right to say, well, until you can assure me that I'm safe, I don't want to come to work?
Yeah, and that's really important. We've had a couple of conversations with clients this week who are requiring their employees coming into the office, and some employees are starting to refuse and say, "Well, I don't really feel safe." And we've had numerous conversations with them around the importance of having that COVID safe plan, doing a risk assessment, and taking all those reasonable steps, because what everybody in the employment law HR community is talking about is whether or not an employee is going to be able to put in a work cover claim should they contract COVID-19 as a result of their workplace. So that's if they do contact tracing and establish that, yes, they got it from their workmate from being in wherever their workplace is. And from everything that I'm reading and hearing, the kind of feeling is that that work cover claim would stand up.
Yeah, well, I don't really know. I haven't seen any cases that have gone forward. I think, what could be a potential future implication of that is we don't know what the virus is going to do to people long term. So, some of the things that I've read suggest that maybe it could be something like the herpes virus, that you can get cold sores, you can have an onset of the effects of this virus once you contract it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, like we don't know what the long-term impact. So if you contract COVID, are you going to have long-term health impacts? And if you were exposed to COVID in your workplace and the employer didn't do everything reasonably practicable to protect your health and safety, then could that be a work cover claim? And we don't know how bad it's going to be yet, or if there's going to be. So we're talking about ifs and what ifs, but I think that if we look at like what you have to do now, you have to take all reasonable steps to ensure the health and safety of your employees. So yeah, that COVID safe plan, and also working with your employees to under the health and safety, in Victoria, the Health and Safety Act, and there's WHS Act in other states, you have to consult with your employees about health and safety. And it's more than just a tick the box kind of thing. The reason that you consult with them is that they might be seeing areas that you can change and impact and make more COVID safe, because they're working with it every day. So, in the case of this cleaning company, the employees had a concern that the laundry wasn't being separated from the hospitals, and so it wasn't being dealt with correctly. So I think if they consulted in the first place, they might have understood what the concern was and been able to address that and alleviate it. So, there's that consultation piece that I think is really important during these times.
Yeah, 100% agree. So the next question I want to ask you is there is talk that the Fair Work Commission is looking into granting paid pandemic leave of up to 2 weeks, and it would be for each occasion for an employee to self-isolate. So can you talk to us about that? What's that all about?
So I think I'm pretty sure it's been in the aged care industry, but I know that Labor federally are pushing for paid pandemic leave for all across all industries, so that if you contract COVID and you have to self isolate for 14 days, you will get paid for it. The question is, who's going to pay for it?
Exactly, that's what I was just thinking in my head. So that's another form of leave that a business is now going to be required to pay for. It seems it's pretty
I
crazy.
I don't know if this is going to be paid for by the government. And personally, I really think that, businesses have, weathered the storm of this COVID thing really, really badly. And, so say you have a positive case in your workplace, you have to pay for a deep clean, which is really expensive. You
You
have
know how
to
much that is? Have you heard? I know we've had a few clients that have had cases and had to do one. Do you know exactly how much it costs?
look. I think it depends on the workplace, but upwards of 15,000. Yeah, we've
Wow.
been told. So yeah, it depends on how what the workplace is like and how large it is, and how many things need to get cleaned. But yeah, you're looking at around $15,000. I guess if you're a really small office and you just have a couple of desks, it will probably be cheaper. But yeah, it can be upwards of $15,000. So, the employer has to pay for that. The employer has to pay for people, to be on leave and not have employees, and also deal with closing down their business or loss of revenue. So, personally, I really think that if this can be supported by the government, this paid pandemic leave, it would be really, really helpful.
It would be.
There's some
It would,
homeschooling yelling in the background. I
oh, is
apologize.
there? That's all right. I think everyone's got homeschooling yelling. My husband's at home with my son today, and I'm really enjoying being here. Just saying. Um, so I
Yeah,
guess that leads nicely into the next question I've got for you. And I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot because we didn't talking about this. But the other thing that's come out is the extension of the JobKeeper scheme, which I think
yeah,
everybody's talking about. And because it feels like everyone's just holding their breath until September to see what's really going to happen to the economy in Australia after that, because I know a lot of businesses that are in free fall. And if it wasn't for the JobKeeper, they probably would have died like
yeah.
quite a few weeks ago. Like I actually have a friend who's got a bar, and he was saying that in 2 weeks' time, he's going to be, I think, $17,000 in debt rent, and that's with a debt like his landlord gave him like a really big discount, and he hasn't worked or had an income for 20 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just like, like he just said, I don't know how much longer I can go on like this. So
So what's
um
the JobKeeper 2.0? Um, I'm sure everyone knows, but it's going to be, you need to prove that your business has still experienced that downturn. So there'll be more proof of reduction of revenue tests. So I'm pretty sure it's quarterly. You have to prove the downturn in September for July to September, and then you have to prove it again in January, and you have to prove it again in March. So
okay.
the testing's more robust. The JobKeeper amount, if you qualify for it, will go down to $1,200 a fortnight instead of $1,500 a fortnight. And there's a new provision for part-timers who will get less. They'll get half of that, I believe, if they've worked less than 20 hours. So
Okay. All right.
part-timers and casuals, because they found that casuals were in fact getting a bit of a pay rise to be getting the same amount. It was like on average they were getting, 750 or 850 extra, you know, than what they were getting before, because they were only working, a small amount of shifts. So it was a bit of a bonus for them and a bit of a boost for the economy. But, if you've got a full timer and a casual, it didn't really add up. So
Yeah,
now it's
no, it didn't. It didn't. I actually know someone was telling me that they have a friend who is a uni student, and they got JobKeeper because they worked in a cafe, and they had ended up getting like another picking up 4 or 5 like casual jobs. And so they were actually earning about $4,000 a week
wow.
over this period in time, and they were like under 21 years of age. So go
Yeah,
figure.
yeah. And combined with that, the people accessing their early super as well. I know a lot of people have done that and
Yeah.
accessed super early. So I think it's 10,000 on either side of the financial year.
Yeah, it's really interesting what the long standing implications are going to be, and what the economy is going to look like in, maybe January next year. Who knows? So the final thing that I just wanted to ask you about before we finish up, so we've nearly done 20 minutes now. We've got a few people watching, and if anyone's got a question, just chuck it in the comments and we'll try and answer best we can if we know the answer. So the other thing is the Fair Work Commission has extended temporary changes to the Clerks Private Sector Award until the 30th of September. So do you think it's going to extend that for longer, and will those extensions also take effect in some of the other awards that were changed?
Look, I think that it would be smart. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but I think it would be really smart to extend that, in line with the JobKeeper extension as well. So unfortunately, my crystal ball isn't really polished that well today, but I really think that it would be smart and it would make sense to extend that for the life of the JobKeeper, because a lot of those award flexibility changes were done in line with when JobKeeper was going to end. So I think that it would make sense to then extend it in line with the JobKeeper extension to the end of March. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, but I don't work at the Fair Work Commission, unfortunately.
No, thank God you don't really. But anyway, no offense. Well, I need you anyway. We need you.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that has been informative for some of our viewers and our community out there. We've had a comment from Jeff that was really good information. Thank you. Thanks for watching, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. So we will be back here next Friday at 12:30. We're going to keep doing this because every week there's some new shit show that we need to talk about. So once again, if anyone has any questions, pop them in the comments of this. Even if they come up during the week, we'll advertise for the next Q&A on this HR Gurus Facebook page. So even if something happens or something comes up over the week that you want to talk about or would like to ask us, then just chuck it in the comments and we'll have a red hot crack.
Thanks very much, Emily, and everyone stay safe, stay COVID safe.
I'm so sick of hearing that. I really just want to have a life, but anyway.
Someone asked me, what are you doing this weekend? And,
drinking?
Yeah, maybe, but the answer's not really that exciting.
I know.
Walking around the block a fair bit. I take my kids on a treasure hunt. They pick up rocks, along the way. Yeah,
sounds so exciting.
So exciting. That is about the extent of the excitement. Clean out another cupboard.
Do you know what? I was talking to someone else the other day about, imagine when the discos open, I'm showing my age there, calling them discos, the nightclubs and the bars. Can you imagine how crazy people are going to go? People are going to lose their shit. They'll just be I'm actually afraid of what people are going to do to themselves.
Well, I was watching a press conference. I'm addicted to the press conferences.
Oh, God, please stop watching them.
He's going to wear his North Face jacket or his suit jacket and get a bit of Brett Sutton eye candy. I do enjoy. But, yeah, he was saying that the hospitality industry is going to be quite different moving forward, and suggested that maybe, we're going to model off some other countries where if you're seated, you can take a mask off, but if you're standing up, you might have to wear a mask. So, Emily, those discos you speak of, they might have to be the masked discos. So we might see some
new seriously
out of masks.
Kill me now. Kill me now.
Bring out the sparkly masks.
How are people going to pash at the disco? How are you going to pick up?
Well, at least you won't contract COVID.
What, pashing a mask? You'll need a little trapdoor.
I don't think it's called pashing anymore, but I don't really know. I'm not.
Anyway, we've gone very off track, but anyway, I can't wait to go to the disco. Not that I go to them anymore, but I just can't wait to do something. Maybe I should start making my COVID mask.
Sequined masks. That's I think there's
yeah, there might be a business idea there.
Yeah, there you go. If people stop needing HR, sequined masks.
We can set up a little sweatshop.
We don't do that.
No, of course not. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all next Friday at 12:30.
Okay. Have a good weekend.